Blessings in the mighty name of Yahweh, Yeshua, divine Christ, the Emperor, the Empress, our ancestors, divine Elohim. In the glory of the Most High God, we give thanks and welcome you forward to Reasons at the Tree of Life. I am Jerome Sage Butler. Give thanks to all who are present. I don't know, Bob, big up yourself from man as always. And the Frost, I don't know, Silent and Galawas. You see it, the whole family and the whole fraternity. I just want to welcome you again, to these reasonings and just, say heads up, keep your eyes open, give thanks to the people who have been responding, who have been sending forward the information. And even my brethren, when I say I turn up and I say, yo, my youth, good works. And also for the people who have been just naturally drawn to this, searching for information. Today's topic we're going to talk about is light versus dark, right? It's one of the most ancient topics. As a matter of fact, light versus shadow is a theme deeper than philosophy. It's been one of those things that people have been talking about as from time immemorial. First off the bat, in the modern age, they have become religious themes. There are also spiritual themes, but they have become mainly religious themes. As a matter of fact, it is divided between the light and the shadow. Let me just put on my little light and shadow right there. If you can notice, this is the light and that is the shadow, right? Anyway, so it's been divided into good for the light, bad for the shadows. So let's look at it in its divided ways first and then bring it together. Light as goodness. The word brilliance, to be a bright and brilliant child, goes back to the suggestive of light. The whole story of light representing good, as how I have come to understand it, comes deeply maybe through some of the Promethean legends and the Prometheus idea of this man bringing light, or this Jupiter, or the man that lives close to the realms of earth, bringing light onto the embattled, darkened soul of man, right? Through the reed plant he brought light, and hence enlightenment, hence brilliance. So if you seem to have if you seem to have a certain awareness, a certain knowledge, you are said to be bright or brilliant. So it is a word that is synonymous with also, possibly means being good, right? Brilliance, light. You understand me? We strive for light. Is it then, when we're striving for light, what we're striving for is wisdom, or rather a certain level of consciousness? Like I said, good has been isolated in light. Badness or evil has been isolated in dark. Darkness, the state that human was said to be in before the Prometheans stole fire from the sun and in the realms of Jupiter and brought it down to us humans. Darkness was said to be our abodes. In the modern context, darkness is the abodes of demons, fallen angels, and all manner of morbidity and morbid and decrepit behaviors and ways of beings. Darkness represents evil, right? The devil was cast out of heaven, found himself somehow in the religious context and abode in hell, a place that seems to be, though said to be on fire, seems to be a dark, dreary, lonely place, a place of absolute lack of fulfillment, right? An empty space, void. So, light good, dark bad. Contextually, how light and darkness has been presented to us. Let's examine light and darkness in a more natural sense. Light, the morning, darkness, the night. Look within the light, you will notice there's dark. Look within the darkness, you will notice there's light. Some is immediately drawn back to the yin and the yang principle of the moon and the sun rotating around terra firma, light portions, dark portions in tandem. Light followed by dark, dark followed by light. Twilight or dusk, twilight and dusk, and dawn, or dusk and dawn, mergers or emergences of the light and the shadow. Twilight, because of the mixing of light, one sees this amazing picture of light and shadow. Also in the dawn, just before the morning comes out into its most clearest sight, there is this interesting mix of light and shadow. A subtle pale resonance permeates things. So there is obviously light and shadow balance. So there's no light and shadow imbalance. Philosophically in man they've become imbalanced. But God is far more than just light, and far greater than the lack of darkness. Because darkness don't presuppose it's evil. Because if you check the word again, The light dwelled among the darkness, but the darkness comprehended it not. And as another sense of reality, a lot of beings go hiding in the darkness to cover their activity, while a lot of beings stand in the light to give a certain vision and a visibility to their activities. So, light and shadow in harmony is how we grow. It is how the planet is harmonized. It is proven that the solar energy that rises in the solar disk in the day, in the plants, becomes functional in the process of growth during the night. During the night, the flora begins to come alive. Also, during the night, during the restful hours, the fauna begins to regenerate. The cells begin to subdivide and shed and regenerate. In the darkness, our entire lives are regenerated. Darkness likened unto death, the sleep, but not the sleep of death, but the sleep of renewal. This sleep, this refresher, to light being likened unto activity, darkness being likened unto sleep. Sleep recharges, regenerates for activity. Darkness prepares for light. Light needs reciprocity, needs restitution in darkness. Divide not light and shadow in philosophy, making light good and dark evil. Because within the darkness is light. Within the light is a portion of darkness. When one looks at nature, one has to understand the dual that makes a singular. Brilliance and beautiful nature, intelligence don't make a great soul. A dull and darkened personality don't make one a negative being. There is beauty in the highly intellectual, and there's beauty in the dull and ignorant. Each of us, according to Desiderata, have our wonderful story. Compare not, divide not, harmonize, creates no philosophy where dark is evil, else you're going to fear the night. You're going to fear closing your eyes. You're going to want to be partying up all night. Make no philosophies where light is the only truth and the only love and the only right, because it will have those like yogis staring into the sun, trying to see like those yogis, staring into this belief that a visible action or a visible circumspect action means that one is venerated, that one is enlightened, that one is uplifted. Make no philosophies of the light and the shadow where they become separate. Always be harmonious. You need your rest. You need to close your eyes. You need to let go, knowing that once eyes are open to light again, what was still is. What is possible still is possible. It is very disheartening when light and shadow becomes absolute philosophies of good and evil. God in His greatness made this plane with light and shadow. Take no philosophies that destroys nature. They say no night in Zion, there is no night there. But this is our home. This is terra firma. This is planet heart. This is Tiamat. This is home. This is earth. This is our home that the Most High has established upon the deep for us. In the great grandeur that is God and godliness, let us harmonize in our twilights and our dawn, that the light and the shadow isn't divided, that in your heart you will see that it is light and dark. That is reality. Because evil exists both in light and in shadow. Goodness exists both in light and in shadow. So harmonizing your light and your shadow, today, this has been my offerings to you in deep past recall memory, in deep practical recall memory of your subtler, most harmonious self by the grace of the living God, goddess, divine nature. Give thanks for your presence with me. Remember that you are a blessing to yourself and to your world. Continue to be that blessing unto yourself and unto your world. More love and blessings. This has been Jerome Butler at the Tree of Life. Let there be light. It is suggesting that they are in darkness.
Right.
And then from the darkness the light emerged, which would be themselves. That they had quite peaceful rest and peaceful presence in the darkness, that it didn't affect them.
Because it dwell in the light.
Yeah, no, because the light dwelt amongst the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not.
Comprehended not.
So what the Most High is trying to say to man is that light and shadow have always been together.
So that unity, right.
But what has happened is that for those who are then deemed to be darkened in mind and in the philosophy that they have gotten negative, is that they chose not to accept that they're a part of the light. That's simply what it meant. It did not mean that they did not exist. It meant that they refused or got confused in their understanding to think that they are pure darkness and no light. Hence, that's where the confusion began. Because the light dwell amongst the darkness and it comprehended it not. So there is harmony. The highest law is harmony. There is no separation in the highest law.
That's why it's always unity.
Yes, it's always unity. But some beings go hide in the darkness because the darkness is like a space that allows a certain ignorance. Because of the notion of a light shedding value, bringing clarity and something, that is something ascribed to light. And ignorance and such the likes are ascribed to darkness, dullness, dimness, and opposite of what is bright and what is brilliant. Right? So it is said that in the darkness goes these beings to dwell amongst a dull, dense state of consciousness, more egoic, more hedonistic, less enlightened, less enlivened, right? Less light. Not to say that the darkness where they are is a compound evil. No. They have resorted to hiding in the darkness, away from the light. So they have separated themselves from the light. That's why it is light and shadow. As one would say, good over evil, meaning that the light or the good in you should rule over the bad in you. Right? Yeah, meaning that one should truly rise above one's negative state of being. Because within one is light and shadow. So the excuse of one saying, my negative conditions made me do that, hence one's darkness, the light of conscientiousness comes in to enlighten your darkened situation, to say to you, here is more information, here is more clarity.
And here is more the way you can see. You see the light and everything that's manifest.
Yeah, here is how to see clearly. Here is how to be present without the myopic thoughts, without the narcissistic, without the self-defeating, self-denigrating thoughts. This is the way to be harmonious, that you don't compare yourself, that you can be at peace.
A better example would be like, you're in the light, you're able to see everything around you. You're in the dark, it's not so easy to see everything, so it's awareness.
Yes.
Awareness is the light.
Yes.
The knowledge of the light.
And
exactly.
And once you have the light, you're able to see.
But one must also one should.
And awareness bring the knowledge of the dark also.
Quite so.
Quite
so. Awareness really.
At the other point, sometimes the light helps you to see awareness into the darkness.
That's what I said. The awareness. The awareness.
But I remember you told me 3 years ago, and you can add a point. You remember say, master your divine light and master the
dark side.
You remember? You said it over another tree. Remember, I'm remember. connect back to where? Connect back.
So
connect clearly from birth.
So the point I want to do to bring both Bob's reasoning, Bob's argument and Wass's argument together. Was you're absolutely correct in saying that because of how people view that they can clearly see in the light. But the point we should never forget is what is in the light is also in the darkness. But what happens possibly because of philosophies and psychology, one might then be more tending to be afraid of that which hides in the darkness. Clear point in that a lot of people who are more brilliant, let's use a word to represent the light.
Inspirational.
There are a lot of brilliant people who do morbid and heinous acts which are not easily detected by the brilliant nature of their being. It would have been more noticeable by the inculcation of fear for us to say, well, this dark entity would be more visible. So darkness manifests as an individual acting crazy. We can spot that person.
Yeah.
But what about when those persons are educated, goes with this kind of esteemed presence, respectability amongst his brethren, is a brilliant being, and for the most part appears to be a being of light. But the actions precipitates negative, precipitates evil. Evil hiding in light and in shadow. That's why I was saying don't create a philosophy where you automatically say darkness, is bad and light is good. So I'm saying see them as they are, that in the light is good and bad, and in the darkness is good and bad. Wherein we're talking about God, that is a realms what we would call absolute. And for absolutes, I have no relative answers. So I cannot speak when one would say God is light and supreme light and nothing else thereof. Neither would I speak too much on the notion of God is dark and light and shadow. What I'm speaking of is how we humans view the light and the shadow when we create philosophies that suggest light is good, shadow or darkness is bad. Just information adding to your postulations of how you view things. So you know, wake up in the night in your darkness without your light on, feeling that you are in hell. And you don't wake up in the morning with the lights blaring, feeling that you're in heaven. Knowing that the light and the shadow harmonizes and is our life. And we know there's certain things within us that we can shed more light on, for real, right? And sometimes we need to go into the dark and the caves of ourselves and escape the outer world. So remember, this is Jerome Sage Butler and Was and Bob right here at the Tree of Life, reminding you that we don't represent no secret organization or no sacred organization. And people might be asking why we're saying those things, because really and truly 3/4 of the world is those secret and those sacred organizations where they're trying to rebuild what them think is gone, or they're trying to build a new age. So just to be peaceful and honest, so know I'm not mash no man toes. Yes.
Okay. God said He is light, and in Him there is no darkness. See me? That's a theme word.
Yes.
He is light, in Him there is no darkness.
Highly, duly accepted.
That's why hell is a lack of the presence of the Most High.
Yes.
See me? Darkness.
Yes, we're in that, in the spiritual now. You're talking heavenly and hell. Because remember, we're earthly. And I said I couldn't speak of what is godly. God in His own words say, there's no dark in Him, there is only light. Hence the extremity of heaven and the extremity of hell. That hell is a lack of the light, hence it is seen as a dark place. Right? And heaven is seen to be the abode of the light, which is where God rests when it's its only light. Right? That I understand. But where it comes to the evening and the morrow, right? Making the day. The evening and the morning making the day, right? That is the light of the day and the dark of night. That is a purely human concept. Though I also mentioned no night in Zion, there is no night there. That is a very deep spiritual reference of our reclamation in heaven, where the Most High is our light, and I have no refutation of that, because that is spiritual. So we are in the human now, looking at just the light and the shadow, I mean in our night and day, in just stark terms of being good and evil. In that sense, not that in the darkness there isn't negative, and that in the light there isn't good. There is good in the light, and there is bad in the dark. But where we look at like the day and the night, to put one against the other and purely say this is what it means, is why a lot of people have been led astray by false prophets, and a lot of people who represent a lot of those special interest groups, as I was saying before. They are those false prophets who are filled with lights, and I am trying my absolute best to remain in my humanity, so I am not espousing nothing to liken myself unto a prophet, because that is not my reality. My reality is a human being pervading the questions that are always being asked and being carried around my circles by our reasonings, right? So, God is absolute light. I could never refute that, right? Lucifer being absolute darkness, I could not refute that. You understand me? But when it relates to us being human, taking the light and the shadow, are white and black. Let's take it back to our human terms. The same philosophy makes us look at white people as heavenly and black people as people from hell. It's the same light and shadow philosophy that has caused white supremacy in the Bible, the fairer than in the old Jewish language, for us to presuppose that a lighter skinned individual carries more love, carries more truth than a darker skinned individual. It comes back to the same premise of the light and the shadow in the manifest context, not in the context of God and devil, because I made that clear, but in the manifest context of human being, our relations to each other, and the environment, and how we view just light and shadow. That a brilliant man is said to be a man of light, but we know what brilliance is really like unto the fallen star, right? Unto the fallen star called Lucifer. So that is where light is likened unto. So isn't it weird that Lucifer was also called the brightest morning star? That the fallen was likened unto a being of light, said to be a being of great light. So let us be clear, let ones be clear in how they are viewing what we are saying. Because we've had the interest and we've had the attention of a lot of people, and we do not want to leave that. Because I'm one of those who will not speak ecumenically about God, because manifestation is not enough to define manifester, and I have clearly defined that in my reasonings. So I cannot speak as if I know God in more than the context that He has revealed, or they have revealed themselves to me, right? So I cannot speak, but I can speak in context of humans. Be careful of looking at light as being good in your perceptions, and darkness as being solely bad. That good light is solely good, and darkness is solely bad. Because remember, Lucifer in Christendom is likened unto the brightest morning star, the brightest light. Brilliance. No special interest groups, no organized religious grouping. I love my fellow humans. Yes. See that? Because remember when them say Christ go to hell, in terms of light now going into hell, a lot of beings were hiding because them couldn't behold the light. Because remember, you know, that the light dwell amongst the darkness, but the darkness comprehended it not. Says when a man really truly lock off himself and choose to revert into himself, that him no longer is interested in what the light means, which is upliftment, enlightenment, and moving on to a plane where there's clarity. So light in its good essence means enlightenment, means you're going past your animal nature or the lower self to the higher self. When the higher self is reached, does it mean the animal self is obliterated? Absolutely not. After the light of day, do you think the night is not going to come? As long as this is our home, as long as this is earth, until the Most High decides otherwise, I guarantee it will be that way. You can bet me, but I think I guarantee it will be that way. Make no enemy of the light, and make no enemy of the dark. Choose to love, And love will teach you how to deal with both the light and the shadow. Right? Light and dark in your control.
And our other point to the people, when people are born into the light before you're born to the dark. When people born, them pick up and move on enlightenment to shine them all of darkness. And when the darkness follow back the light.
Okay,
Yes, we have people born with the light and some of them not born with the light. And that means that some of them born with the light, some of them whoever who don't born with the light, them find the light in the darkness.
All right.
Find themselves.
Alright, well one could suggest that one is coming out of the darkness into the light. Because what happened is that the inner being...
I'm a picture of another point. What if someone who born in the darkness find the opposite to the light?
Yes.
You say you have to look at many angles and different
Yeah, that's what I'm saying no, but look at it biologically without just jump into the philosophy.
Yeah.
Let's first examine the biology before we examine the philosophy.
Yeah.
Number one,
True.
the baby is inside the mother's womb, which means that the baby has been conceived in a very darkened place, that where conception occurs, no one sees. If you want to put a catheter in the penis and go look up, or a camera and go look in the vagina like those sex experts in those sex things, I've watched those things. I'm a curious being. I have watched those things. Fine. But I'm saying the camera wasn't meant to be there on your curious eye. You understand me? You were meant to get high, but on a different high. Anyway, so in the sexual action, conception happens in a very hidden place, inside the cave of the human. You understand me? Inside them hidden parts.
Right.
You understand me? It's very secretive, it's very dark, it's in a hidden world. Conception, and then for the most part, the child grows in the mother's womb, in a darkened place, without the light of this world.
Oh.
So I think where they get the religious notion of born in sin, shaped in iniquity, come from the notion that it's darkness first before you come to see light. But that is when you have done vilify the darkness as having no purpose. That's when the darkness has become evil. Not when the darkness is just a biological process that is the balance to the light. That is the harmony rather to the light. That's all it is. That's why the child is conceived in that dark world, spends 9 months of its life in the good context within this darkened world.
5 months, less than 5.
And then being born into the world of light.
We are basically arguing the levels of the word darkness and the levels.
Yes, obviously levels in light and levels in darkness. Because when God said there's no darkness in him, that is the ultimate level, the absolute that, you know. That is the absolute. That is far beyond our relative reality. When God said there's no dark in him, that is absolute. We are going towards absolute, but we are yet not absolute. A part of us is yet absolute. I am not those who will divide. Why? Because until there is a day without a night, we will talk.
You're making sense. And
we will talk.
And that is why some of the baby who in the womb see the future before them born. That's why enough of them want born early. That's why Babylon says premature. It's not premature. Because babies already become enlightenment and they have to come out early before certain things happen.
What early?
Because they try to fight abortion, kill the babies before they're born. A lot of things. That is why I understand that point. Because I met about it last night, you know. While in my mother's room, I see a lot of things. Teleport mommy, do good things for me, take care of me. But the future, yeah, mate, the same mate.
The most interesting part about what you were raising, about the child being born, we seem to don't want to speak of the incarnation of life. This on the spiritual side.
Yeah.
The child comes into knowledge much earlier than, say, even 2 years.
A brilliant child. That's how enlightened. That could be called an enlightened child. That can be called a light. I mean, Christ was said to be a light that came into the world, meaning that he came with the knowledge of the divine self into the world.
Are you making a point?
You know, so you're right. So one can define that light can come into this world, as you say, an incarnate plane.
Right.
And light can be garnered while in this world. One can find the light while in this world, or one can come to this world with the light.
The sense of the light can be born into this world, as in the conscious light.
Yeah, the within the conscious, that is within the
Within
light.
physical.
We're growing with it. Right?
The same as a physical child born with that dark energy, that dark consciousness. So
And
life is
different
always balanced
balance.
between good, evil, light, dark, and the different levels. In ascending, we all have to cage our demons, the ego,
Right.
or that type of ego for that level,
Mhm.
because there's more than one ego within.
Yeah, true.
And
Layers of human,
Layers of soul.
human
layers of
interconnection, layers of human
and
burdens.
that is why.
We have a karmic debt. Sometimes the ancients talk about karmic debt. I know sometimes in Christian context, sometimes there's not much talk about karmic debt. But in other religious tradition, there's a talk about the karmic debt. Like a child can come into the world, as you say, one could say being a dark being, presupposing that darkness means bad, right? And one can come in this world being a light being, presupposing that light means good. I have looked at those beings in a more psychological but more practical term of saying a brilliant and a dull child. One that is said to be intelligent and one that is said to be lacking in intelligence. One might be more theoretic and one might be more practical. So if we even bring down light from theory and darkness to practical, to theory and practical, one can say that light can presuppose that it is thoughts of something more brilliant, good concepts, of things being harmonious, of things being functional, right? And dullness or darkness in terms of practicality, in terms of functionality, can be that things are out of sorts, base and basic, and not vast enough to encapsulate enough of us, enough ideas, and enough of the events for it to be a sound choice or a sound leader. Yet, within simple and simplistic life, in the mundane, sometimes there's great value. In the supposed dull life, you have people doing continuous, repetitive things. A sort of meditative, harmonious life occurs. A very worship-oriented, praise-oriented life, a thankful life, filled with gratitude arise out of the same simple, dense life that might seem to be a dark life. You know, you're not exposed to much things.
What Sage is saying, slavery. As Africans, we were in slavery, and
You're making a point.
we were treated harshly, inhumane. But as Jamaicans are a set of people called Jamaicans, we have slowly been on the up. We are not letting that side. We try to erase it as Jamaicans first.
Try to sometimes deny its impact on us or its effect on us.
And you
Exactly.
remember, you know, most,
Which
well,
it is a part of awareness.
that's a tell.
We do, and it's a part of not wanting to face the awareness.
True.
The darkness in
Exactly.
Jamaica. That's why Jamaican people say, why Jamaica so darkness? Because do you know that Jamaica is the #1 spiritual environment in the world? First thing, Atlantic is nearby. You see me? Generation of curse. Spirit come to next generation and certain people remember why they're here. Right. That's why enough people in Jamaica keep on talking about energy. Energy. What is energy? We've been here energy. And we talk about energy more than other nations, you know.
Or the way in which we talk about energy is
energy of light,
yeah,
and that's what Obia talk about.
yeah, we use the energy in a different way, and we think about it in a different way. Sometimes similar, but sometimes different, because when Jamaicans come on this energy plane of even using crystals and all these things for healing, because the most I talk to me about the whole crystal thing, a lot of people have gotten into the crystal healing and they've been asking lots of questions about it. So we'll do one on crystals as well, right? But just for now, I will say that it has been an ancient tradition in a lot of our indigenous groupings that are now coming back forward. Energy is one of the terminologies that Jamaicans use to define, again, an enlightened state. That even dense energy is seen as a part of our experiences, that we say, well, the energy is dense or this energy is enlightened. You understand me? That energy, as how it is used by us, is presupposing, again, light and shadow. It goes back to light and shadow, of light energy and dark energy. You understand me? So when Jamaicans start to interact with the energy, it becomes this substitute for the word spirit, like for light spirit and dark spirit, because previously our religious terminology used the word spirit. So now when this energy language are coming, people's like, what are we always talking about, this energy, thinking that it's being used in the context of how a lot of the modern people or the new age movements are using energy. Energy for us presupposes spirit. We were always saying this is our spirit, the energy of our being, the spirit of our being. So the light spirit which come onto us, which again we're representing as a good energy, and the supposed dark spirit represented as a bad energy that comes onto us. Light and shadow in that context, in energy, still is something that we relate to. It is going to always be a relatable topic. Why? Because it's the oldest notion that we've ever discussed of ourselves, light and shadow. There was an age when it wasn't so divided, when it was more harmonious. In this current religious age, where it has become isolated, and in our religious context, when, again, as I say, if God says all light and nothing bad, right? One can see why at times the human beings would then suggest that darkness just simply means bad. But then we already took you through the reality of looking at darkness in the biological, in the ecological context, that these philosophies have led to belief system of fairer than, which means lighter than, meaning a lighter skinned individual is better at being responsible, at being loving, at being caring, at being kind than a darker skinned individual. Feel us, feel me in what I'm saying to you. Let us not be over and too much. Remember, be very careful in how we're perceiving these things. There are many groupings and organizations on the left and on the right, pulling you this way, pulling you that way. If it is the Lord thy God you serve, He'll be your guiding light. And hopefully we've added 1, 2, or 3, or even several words to your own reasoning and your own rhetoric. This has been Jerome Sage Butler, the Tree of Life. Just reminding you, you know what I mean? We don't represent no special interest organization. Just Tree of Life, and we're bridging them friendship. We don't tell us it's friendship. We don't tell us it's Jamaica. We don't tell us it's respect and honor. So just remember, say, respect yourself, love yourself, care yourself, and then respect, love, and care others. Care your community. Today, promise yourself that you're going to say something to that individual that you've been carrying around in your heart for months, and don't want to say nothing to that individual there. You don't want to let that person off of the hook. May I beg you, please. Consider it first, then in baby steps, approach. Do something to transform your world, your life, your reality. Until next time, blessings and love.